Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com. It's early in the morning, around 6 a.m., middle of August 2025, and it's time for another garden tour brought to you by my sponsor, Vessi Seeds. Let's go have a look around. All right, well, here we are at the entrance of the garden. Got a pumpkin here in a raised bed. It's doing well. It's been very, very dry here in Nova Scotia, unnaturally dry for here. In fact, we just had a kind of bad forest fire yesterday, and I don't even know if it's under control yet, what we call wildfire. Anyway, I can't smell it. It wasn't far from here. That's why everybody in the neighborhood here is very concerned, because we back onto this huge wilderness area, and it's mostly spruce trees, so the whole thing would just go up like it was soaked in gasoline if it ever... One match would burn it all down in no time. Anyway, it's a constant source of anxiety in the summer for all concerned. Anyway, everything's still here, so we'll just keep going for now. Yeah, so it's been a challenge. I know some friends of mine that have gardens have had trouble keeping theirs going. I actually haven't watered this too much. I've watered the whole garden 3 times, just using the pond. That's all I've done this summer. So just before we go, just bear that in mind. I don't have a drip irrigation system, none of that stuff. I just keep everything mulched. So, you know, I mean, there's proponents of mulching say you don't need to water it at all. I mean, if there's no rain, you're gonna have to water it eventually, right? But it reduces the need to water. As I said, I've only wholesale watered the entire garden, and by garden I mean non-perennials. I haven't watered the perennials at all. But all the vegetables I have, annuals I have growing, I've watered them 3 times for the entire season. I mean, with the exception, okay, of, you know, early June or May, when you got little tiny seedlings. You have to water them because the roots aren't deep enough to find water. What I mean is that once everything got a decent size and I got a proper mulch on a bed, you know, greatly reduced need to water. Anyway, here we go. So yeah, this pumpkin, I noticed drooping the other day. Just couldn't get water, so I dumped almost a gallon of water on it. Seems to be doing okay, and I think we got a fruit. We got a fruit forming up over there. So that's about, not huge yet. That's maybe 8 inches in diameter. So pumpkin's coming along, and this is not a great spot. I mean, you can see we got a tree here and 2 big trees here, a hill here, more trees here. It's like the worst place to grow anything. It's so shady, but it's just been so, the conditions have been so good. Also, I put like 3 shovelfuls of horse manure and planted the pumpkin seeds right in that. So that seems to really help. Horse manure. Potatoes I had growing here are done. They need to be harvested before the voles and stuff get at them. Once they turn yellow like that, they're done. So you can see these ones still have a bit of green, but those ones back there, they're done. And I mean, I don't know what we got in here in terms of size, but imagine we got some goodness in here somewhere. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I'm sure they get bigger, but that's a decent potato. All right, so over here, this is the bed where I kept my leaves. You know, I gathered leaves in the fall from just people's driveways. Then I distributed the leaves throughout my garden as a mulch. And then I had this bare soil once all the leaves, and I had like a layer of seaweed and then leaves on top of that, and everything's been scraped away. And I just thought, why not plant some potatoes in there? So I scuffed the soil up and planted. I had a handful, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I had like 14 chitted potato seeds just sitting around right up until, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something like that. So I just decided, what the heck, I'll stick them in here. A late planting, sort of late July, early August. And then I just mulched them with weeds and stuff. You can see these are stalks from all the garlic I harvested. My daughter calls these garlic potatoes because when you walk by here, you can smell garlic. Anyway, they're growing. They've been watered once. Other than that, I haven't done anything. And I'm not expecting much, but I don't care. This is just like a bonus potato garden. A very late planting of potatoes. We'll see how well they do, but I think you can plant potatoes around the beginning of August and get away with it, as long as you don't, I mean, if it's a fast-growing variety and you don't have any frost until, let's say, late October, I think you probably can get away with it. We'll see how it goes. Getting into the garden here. Tomatoes are doing great. I can't remember the exact variety of these, but it's a like a beefsteak. Right, so some of them are getting some decent size, right? And this is a different variety that Robert Pavlis gave me. I think they're supposed to turn purple or something, so we'll see how they go. And I had one here, but my son pulled it. This is a replacement. Anyway, tomatoes are doing great. This isn't, you know, for where I live, this is pretty good. Let's get over here now. Kale needs to be thinned. I've just been lazy with my kale, but I consider kale like a September crop anyway, so one of these days I got to come out here and do something real with the kale. The artwork broccolini has been, you know, just every 3 days I have to harvest off these little tips. It looks like it needs a harvest again today. They're getting attacked a little bit by different sorts of, you know, pests. I have not treated these at all the entire season. So, you know, that's, I mean, a good spray of Safer Zendol or BTK, I'd have more beautiful plants. But I mean, the pests seem to be attacking the leaves, and they're not attacking the, you know, the fruits. This one grew too much. So, you know, I'm still harvesting off of them. So I'm just being lazy, but I mean, they're producing, right? And the, you know, the end product, the actual vegetable is unblemished. It's just the leaves that look bad. So I'm not really bothering. I'm just harvesting, continuing to harvest. The beets over here, they don't look great, but I mean, they're growing and they just need, boy, do they ever need some water, right? But here's one, you know, like it's not even a foot high, but we got a 2-inch beet. And these will just keep growing. I'll harvest these in September. So we got like another 2 months of growing practically. So a lot can happen. We just get some rain, and I think, you know, they've been thinned properly. So I am completely optimistic about these beets, even though they don't look so great, but they'll be fine. Parsnips have been thinned and weeded, and they're doing great. I could use some more mulch, but I don't have anything. So the peas here are done. The potatoes growing along the peas are done, pretty much, just about done. These collard greens, this is odd. I've got the ones in the middle here with this deep, beautiful green color, and the ones on the right with this lighter green. They're all the same variety, so I can't explain the difference. But I assume these ones are healthier. Also, I noticed the ones with that nice color are getting less attacked by pests than these ones with the off color. But I can say I've eaten both, and they both taste fine. And I really should be getting on top of blanching and freezing these. Maybe this week will be the week I get to that. The Swiss chard that looked so sad in the last garden tour is now starting to look good. These ones along the side of the collard greens aren't growing as well because they're getting shade from the collard greens. So it's something I'll have to bear in mind for future reference, that they're not necessarily good neighbors. Maybe collard greens aren't good neighbors for anything because they're so big and so leafy. They create so much shade. So maybe I won't plant Swiss chard with collard greens. Maybe I'll plant them with carrots or something, because they're not going to get as high and cast as much shade. But anyway, the Swiss chard is, I mean, that's about as good as you can get it, right? It's beautiful. So, and I mean, this is mulched from just, I went in the woods, I got paths going, you know, into the forest and the woods here. And I ran into mulch, so I just raked stuff from the paths in there, which is mostly like spruce needles and stuff like that. Everybody says, oh, that'll acidify your soil, blah, 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 blah. Well, that look good to you? Looks good to me. I think everything's going fine. Carrots. I think the last garden tour, these didn't look so great. But now they're doing good. They could use some water. I got 2 different varieties. I think this volcano over here, and this is satin white or something like that. So the white ones aren't as big, but they're growing and they've got decent. If we look down, we look at the crowns, right? That's over 1-inch crown. And I mean, it's only August, right? I'm not harvesting these till October, right? So these are going to grow a lot. And we are eventually, if the whole world doesn't burn down, I assume we're going to get some rain. So, you know, they're doing fine. So I'm totally optimistic about these carrots. Over here, we've got peppers. This is a Sweet Italia variety, and they're forming up. They're not turning red yet, right? Right now they look like a hot pepper, I guess, but they're not. Right, they're going to get bigger, almost like a Cubanelle. That's almost full size there. They should be about 2 inches at the top, and maybe 4 to 5 inches long. And they're red and they're very sweet. But most importantly, fast growing. To deal with our usual. We had an incredible summer in terms of growing conditions, but usually conditions here are less than ideal for peppers. Beans, I got the Vortex beans, and we're pulling big bowls of beans out of here every couple of days, right? This one almost ready for picking. Usually we pick them when they're about like that. So anyway, like a wall, right? 10-foot wall of beans. I had lettuce growing on this side. It's all been picked. I planted some new lettuce on this side, and it's still, despite all this heat, has not bolted, which is a miracle. Anyway, we got some lettuce growing there. We'll see how it goes. It's a bit too hot, right? Cucumbers. We've got lots of cucumbers. I've made about 5 or 6 jars of, like half-gallon jars of pickles. We've got our dill on the right-hand side, as always, which you use for pickling. I mean, what we do with these pickling cucumbers is, we use the nice 4-inch ones for pickling. And every once in a while, you're going to miss a pickle. Every time we harvest them, we get a bunch of 4 inches, but we get the odd fat 5 or 6 incher. So you use the 5 and 6 inches in salads, or you can use them to make relish, and the nice properly sized ones like that. That's a good, it's about the width of my palm, 4 inches. That's a pickling cucumber, perfect for pickles. If they get too big, they just don't work properly if you're doing fermented pickles like me. And I love fermented pickles. So that's about the size you want to pick them, around that size. Pumpkin over here, growing on a mound of horse manure. I'm getting a nice sized fruit. This is my largest pumpkin, maybe 10 inches in diameter so far. Right? Still, I mean, it's only August, so lots of growing to do. I've been trying to put the water to this. Every time I water the garden, I give this about half a gallon, just this one plant. This plant and this plant were planted, I put 3 seeds here, right? And at some point I removed 2 of the plants and just left 1. So this was one of the other plants. Look at the difference. Just moving a pumpkin really stunts it, right? These 2 plants were the same size. I moved this one, moved it as carefully, and took as big a clump of earth as I could. Look at the size difference. Right? Same with that. That pumpkin came from here. It was growing right next to this. It was the same size. It doesn't look so good now, does it? Anyway, raspberries. I know in my last video I thought the raspberries had a disease or something. They didn't. That's just like the late stage of, raspberry stalks die, so they were just dying but producing. We've got a ridiculous amount of raspberries. Everything I've done, my long journey of trying to successfully grow raspberries, has finally worked out into success. I got like over a dozen bottles of raspberry jam this year. The plants are just about done producing. They're still giving up a little bit, but everything I've done to protect them from the wind, and protect them from rabbits, protect them from other forest creatures, getting them away from this fence, giving them a sort of secondary fence, tying them to stakes so that when they're blowing around they don't get broken over this secondary fence. All of that has resulted in success. I finally have productive, healthy raspberry plants. So happy about that. Another pumpkin here. Train that, move that over. Get over there, you. There you go. Fruit's not forming up yet, but it's one of the moved plants. This is a pumpkin that's been in the same place its whole life. So it should have a fruit somewhere. Yeah, there's a fruit there, right? 1 fruit. Now, if I wanted to get that really huge, I would prevent any other fruits from forming on this plant. But I really don't care. I just tend to just let things do what they do. So, each of these pumpkins, the idea is that they'll be trained to cover that area, the area where they're growing, right? But pumpkin's doing good. Got some sunchokes over here. They're doing okay. Grapes that I moved a couple years ago are 100% back. Can you move a grape plant? And if you watch the video, I mean, you couldn't have more violently moved a grape plant than the way I moved this. And they're obviously fine, right? Took a couple years for it to recover, but it's doing great now. This was the asparagus bed. I had my son pull out all the asparagus. You can see it's hard to get it all out, so there's still some around. All right, so we'll just stay on top of that. But the plan is to turn this into a vegetable bed. I had some lettuce transplants just growing in that seed pack, which I should put in the shed. Don't leave your trash in the garden. Anyway, the lettuce is growing okay, and I got some late planting of basil. That's coming in good. I had beautiful basil growing in the house in May, and I put it out on my deck, and it rained, and I didn't realize it, but the seed tray, I had a thing that collects water. It filled with water, and I left them out there for a couple of days because it wasn't too cold. But all the basil drowned. Get too much water. If your basil is sitting in basically a cup of water, it will die. So beautiful basil, a nice 10-inch high or lush plants, just waiting to be moved out. And in about a 48-hour period, they all died from getting too much water from rain. So lesson learned there. So this is my second planting of basil, and I predict that they will give me some decent basil by sometime in September. We'll see in the next garden tour. Callaloo, what a success. So I got these seeds off of Amazon. Betsy Seeds doesn't sell callaloo. My wife's family's from Jamaica. She ate callaloo growing up, and we went to Jamaica a couple years ago, and I got to try it, and I basically had it for breakfast every day. You just cook it. It's a cooked green. It's like a spinach, but it's a hot country spinach. So spinach doesn't grow this time of year. When you cook this, it's spinach-like. You just toss it around with a little garlic, a little spices, some chili peppers and stuff like that. It's delicious to have with just about anything. So I'm really happy. All the sun, all the heat, everything we've had, it hasn't bothered this plant at all. It's like a cactus in its ability to find water. So, because it's a tropical plant from a tropical country where there's a lot of heat. So very, very happy with the callaloo. Most callaloo doesn't look like this. It's usually multicolored, variegated, like it goes from a green to a red and yellow sort of thing. This one isn't as beautiful as the typical, for those of you that are familiar with callaloo, this doesn't have that look, but the flavor is indistinguishable in my opinion. And these have grown really well, and they seem to be pretty pest free. It's like the pests here don't know what to do with them. So another bonus of callaloo. I'll grow this every year as long as I live because I love my greens, and this is a great summer green. Doesn't have the bitterness of other greens, and you can harvest them down. You can see these ones here. I've cut the tops right off. You want to start to flower like this. I meant to do a standalone video on these, but anyway, you just cut back those flowering heads. It'll send out new shoots, and it seems to just keep leafing out. So we'll see. This is Georgia candy roaster squash. I've got 9 plants in this bed, and just whenever they send out these, I try to direct them back in. For some reason the plant seems to want to go this way. I'm trying to get it to go fill that. There's a corner there where there's not a lot growing, so I'm trying to direct them that way. Anyway, I have some fruits forming up, right? These get quite big, maybe like the size of my forearm or larger. Okay, like that, right? So they're a very tasty squash, reasonably good storage. You harvest them September, October, I guess, before there's a frost. And they seem to keep, I don't know, reliably till January, maybe February if conditions are correct. So usually sometime in January, whatever I haven't used, I cook them and freeze them. But yeah, they're great. Brussels sprouts. So these plants don't look so great. It's still early days. They haven't achieved the height. Maybe I should be giving them more water. Maybe I should be treating them with something to prevent this pest damage. I grew potatoes in this bed last year. They grew well. But I've always been concerned that this bed is a bit acidic. Anyway, we'll see. This is the first time I've successfully grown Brussels sprouts. I love them. My kids are kind of lukewarm. My wife likes them too. But you don't harvest Brussels sprouts till like October, like we tell you've had a frost. So I'm not worried about these. So we'll just see how it goes. In terms of perennials, oh, and I've got potatoes here. These potatoes never got really big. I don't know why, but the actual potatoes underneath the, like, when I say big, I mean the plants, the vegetative part of the plant above ground, didn't form big plants. And I'm not getting, like, an ideal potato, you get like 8 good potatoes per plant. This is only giving me like 2 per plant, but they're generally a decent size, like almost like the width of my palm, right? So I don't know why. I mean, it's a good sunny spot. Maybe it was too dry. I don't know. But I got the potatoes out of it. You know, you plant potatoes, you get potatoes. That's success. You can see I've harvested some here, right? The plants are still growing, but they're almost done. They're starting to yellow, so they're done. All the strawberries, you know, they're done producing. We got lots of jam, all the jam we want, all the strawberries we want. We had them coming out of our ears. Strawberry shortcake and ice cream every night, you know, good life. And I predict that I'm going to have even more next year. I guess I forgot to go up through this part of the garden. Onions. Onions are done. I'm ready to harvest. I'm going to do a video on that later today, hopefully, so more on that later. This was a strawberry garden. The strawberries were all pulled out. I did a video on that, and I replanted some beans. That's what this is. Whatever this weed is, I got a lot of them. It's a good job for my son to weed these, but anyway, there's no mulch, as you can see, right? Anyway, I got these beans growing here. A lot of them got taken out by slugs. I never put any slug bait down or anything with these, and I probably lost about 40% of the beans, and I got no more to plant, and it's getting late anyway. I'll be lucky if these produce fruit as it is. But anyway, I just planted some yellow beans here so I could make some mustard beans. I'm sure I'll get enough. I'm sure there's some way I can reposition some of these to fill it out. Maybe I'll take the ones I planted in the middle and put them on the side so we can just have 2 solid rows of beans. I tend to get hung up on aesthetics. I want everything to be like balanced and even. But anyway, this I think is going to be a decent bean garden, even though we planted very late, end of July basically. Zucchini, we got the 2 varieties of zucchini, kind of yellow zucchini. I don't know what it's called, maybe Golden Delight or something like that. That's ready for harvesting. Once they're like a handspan, they're ready. Don't wait any longer than that. And I got these gorgeous Magda. That one's ready for harvest. I can't recommend this variety of zucchini enough. And Bessie sells them, and I hope they keep doing it forever. They're just wonderful. So we use these as an eating zucchini. I don't know if I just called these cucumbers, but we use these as eating zucchini. And we use these yellow ones to make a relish, one of my wife's favorite things. Mrs. Maritime Gardening loves her yellow zucchini relish. She puts that, kind of like Frank's hot sauce, she puts that stuff on everything. So it's just about time to make up a batch. Maybe I'll do that today. So yeah, zucchini are doing great. In previous years, I've had 2 rows of zucchini, and I decided to stop doing that in these beds. These beds are kind of narrow. They're only about 2.5 feet wide. I just put them right down the middle, and each plant has lots of space, and I got all the zucchini I want. So sometimes keeping it simple is better. This was a garlic bed. All the garlic has been harvested out. When I was thinning out these squash, I plucked some up and just stuck them in the ground amongst the garlic here. So that's what these, see, they're smaller because they've been moved. And look at that. This was a half dead, it never ceases to amaze me, the capacity of a half dead basil to come back from the dead. This was a half dead basil, and now it's very healthy. You know, I mentioned earlier that I killed all my basil. This one still had one leaf on it or something, so I stuck it in the ground and said, well, we have to stuck it in the ground with the garlic here, and it came out fine. Green onions. I got 2 different varieties of green onion. The ones in the perimeter were started from sets. And you can see they're forming up onions right now. What a great variety. You get the greens and you get the onion. And then these ones here, you can see they've got a kind of purplish hue, right? Like a red onion. So those were green onions. They're growing great, right? So, I mean, the sets got growing quicker, but they're all doing fine. So, I mean, we got perpetual green onions for whatever. This is too much. This is too much green onions, in my opinion. But we can't use them all. But anyway, it was just an experiment to see. But in the future, I don't think I'll bother doing any of this. I think I'll just plant the sets around the perimeter of my garlic beds. This was a garlic bed. This was a green onion set that was just tucked in along the perimeter. You can see this one here. It's formed a decent onion, but I've been using the greens all summer long for salads and omelets and stuff. Probably do that this morning. Usually, nice morning like this, it's an omelet day. Okay, over to the perennials. We got blueberries. Right now I got my 2 teenagers harvesting this every 2 days. Right, some nice big fat blueberries. After today's harvest we'll have enough to make a pie or something like that. We'll probably get about 2 or 3 or 4 desserts out of these a season. They don't produce as much as some years they produce more than others. That's just the way these things work. These blueberries have a disease called witch's broom. It does not seem to affect, maybe it's reduced production by some percentage, I don't know. But anyway, they are producing, and these were all moved a couple of years ago, so they're gonna get stronger every year. You can see like this plant, and this is, when they're producing well, it looks like this, right? This plant's very productive, and I imagine next year all of them will be even that much better. So blueberries doing great. The pear and apple trees have no fruit this year, but they're still young trees, and it's possible that this one might have gotten apples because it did flower out, but there was nothing to pollinate it with because this apple tree seemed to die. Now I'm inclined to just think it's dead and I want to plant another one, but many viewers have said, let it go, see what happens next year. So that is easier. So I'm going to do that. And all the different fruit bushes back here are done for the season. So I'm still pulling lovage off of this wonderful lovage plant. How I deal with this lovage is around the beginning of the week, I grab a bunch of stalks like this, and I just stick them in a beer glass with some water on the counter. And every time I need to cook, I use one. And I find one of these is pretty much all you need for any dish requiring celery. Like we made a nice pasta sauce last night. We had spaghetti, and just one of these get this very strong flavor, very strong celery flavor. So just one of these is the right amount for any dish that calls for like a cup of celery. Doesn't have it doesn't have the texture of the grocery store celery, but it's got the flavor, and to me that's what matters, because celery is really not food. It's more of a flavor. And finally, the goldfish pond. So I was supposed to make my pond bigger this year, but I didn't. I just left it go. This pond plant, whatever it is, I thought these were cattails, but they're not. They make these funny looking flowers, almost like a burdock type thing. Anyway, they have really taken over the garden. So I've taken to, from time to time, and just reach down and yank them out and throw them on my beds as a mulch. But on the bright side, they've done a really good job at keeping the water clear. There's a bit of a glare right now. You probably can't see that well, but I mean, I perpetually have problems with my water being muddy here. I mean, it hasn't helped. It's also helped the fact that we haven't had any real rain. Whenever it rains, I get more clay washed into the pond. But anyway, I got so many pond plants in here. The water is very clear and the fish are very happy. Everything in here is happy. The water is as good as it can be. We've been using the water to water the garden. For those that wonder, like, how's your pond not run out of water? Every time we water the garden, I got a hose coming down from the house. I used to use the hose to water the garden when it really needed it, but I just have it buried underneath the sand here. You can see it poking out in the corner here. Okay, so somewhere around here the hose pokes out into the pond. When we're watering the garden, because we haven't had any rain, I mean, if we're getting rain, decent rain every week or so, I don't need any of this. But for now, when we water the garden, I turn the hose on for as long as I'm confident we've got water in our well. We're not in city water here. We have a well, but it's really deep. You know, I mean, if we're told not to use our well water, then I'll stop. But again, we've only watered the garden 3 times this entire summer. So yeah, that is how I have kept the water level. If these conditions persisted and I wasn't allowed to use water from my well, or advised not to, for risk of running, I mean, like, you know, as much as I like my goldfish and as much as I like having the pond, I like having water for showers and cooking and bathing and cleaning even more. So if I had to choose between the pond and the hygiene of my household, the pond would lose. But goldfish are tough. Well, they should be fine, and we should get rain eventually, I assume. So anyway, the pond's doing great. We got a lot of pond plants. You can barely see the water for the pond. Doesn't seem to bother the fish. They're doing great. You can't see them right now, but there's over a dozen goldfish in there. Some of them are as big as my hand span, and they're doing great. Anyway, that's where things are. Middle of August 2025. Having a great growing season. It's a little drier than I'd like. I mean, all that heat's great for growing, but the dryness is such a risk for forest fires and stuff like that. It's just not, it's not great. But anyway, from a gardening point of view, everything's great. So I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast at maritimegardening.com. Check out my articles at maritimegardening.substack.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.